95% of companies experience a stall. But what is interesting about it is that 66% of them never get out and get back to growth.
Wow.
And when you say, why do they not get back to growth? Everybody's got a hindsight view that doesn't include the fact that they made everyone second guess themselves and slow down and not make decisions and not move forward. You said
It's
it earlier, make it happen, do something, see what works, continue to grow. That's the bias that a CEO's got to have, and they got to protect all those green shoots that are doing it.
We're sitting down today with Laurence Haughton. I have an interesting perspective on the story. His book, It's Not the Big Fish That Eat the Small, It's the Fast That Eat the Slow, has been very impactful to me on my career personally. I read this book when I was 21 and still in the military. Super good to sit down with today. He's written 6 other books, 2 on the New York Times bestseller list. Anyway, super nice to meet you, Laurence. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself, about your story, and then we'll dive right in.
Myself and my story is a series of happy accidents, stumbling into things, being curious, but just a lot of luck along the way and making plenty of mistakes, recognizing them as early as I could. I wasn't the first, but I've never been the last to recognize a mistake.
Yep. So walk me what's your overall career progression? Just real quick, if you were given walk me through your LinkedIn. Like what different jobs have you had?
Well, I started again, stumbled into by accident being an engineering technician at a
Okay.
small company in Mountain View. And the thing that was interesting about it was the way they were running the place. Absolutely, just it astounded me. I was so involved in everything that they do. And remember, I'm the lowliest of the low. I'm an engineering technician. Next step down is a janitor, which is actually where I started. And so this was an incredible thing for a under 20-year-old kid to get involved in, because I was looking at this incredible management style and was told in my next job, which is a producer for ABC, that it was totally, that's just because they're a small company, they're nobody, and that's not the way business is
Yeah.
done. And the thing that was interesting about it in Mountain View, I still have the picture, and I still have one of my W-2s, Intel.
Wow. So you were in a unique position, basically a frontline worker, to kind of figure out how the gears turned and what threw the sawdust. And a quick anecdote: I have heard a lot of senior executives say, that they think it's the boardroom where stuff goes on. And a friend of mine was sit on the board. One of the assets he has this plaque he puts on all the managers, gives all the managers, and it goes on everybody's desk, and it says, "A desk is a terrible place from which to view the world." And but anyway, please continue. Love to hear more about the journey and then how you turned into doing research and an author for Speed.
Well, I was so turned on by that. And the bosses there were so nice to me, including inviting me into their houses on the weekend.
Okay.
To do things like help them shovel manure in their horse stables, but I didn't care. And so from there, I went to college, university, and then I went, and they said, hey, if you're going to be in media, you better start in the hinterlands. I didn't like
Yeah.
that idea. So I started at ABC in San Francisco.
Okay.
I went from there into a development company that was creating training programs way back when it was audio cassette. And I was writing and I was producing. And then they said, hey, if you're going to write and produce, remember the next part we have to do is sell. So why don't you just jump in and sell stuff? It's really easy. And so they threw me into the sales. I was the only person there doing that, and developed from there to going out into the field with the company and doing some of their work in the field, which is where they said at the first junction that I was at, they said the following: okay, he's listened to the workshop now, but he doesn't need to be here today for all of the numbers work that we're going to do. What should we do with this guy?
Yep.
And the boss of the client company said, well, why doesn't he go tag along with the salespeople on some calls and
Yep.
just, kill his time there? And I did. And as the guy was working on the call, he stumbled and looked at me like, I don't know what to do now. So I just jumped in. And that became the catalyst for a career of figuring out how to get things done when other people are stumbling.
Yeah, so did you have it distilled down to speed then, or what? Like, was it just like, I'm kind of the trash man, and I will do anything for people, and I if you need something, I'm the guy you count on.
It's the latter.
The latter. Okay, so
Yeah.
when did you figure out that the speed of execution of a whole org is really what it takes to move things forward?
Well, I've just always been really impatient.
Okay.
That's just me. And my mom would tell you, too impatient for my own good. So, it was just a natural thing. I've also been really competitive. And I was looking for a way, how does somebody from a third rate university who's gotten out there and done a lot of things in terms of on the streets, but always with the underdog,
Yeah.
how does somebody take on these big titans of industry and business and actually beat them with in their own marketplace. And I just got attracted to the concept that if you take speed, it's the ultimate competitive advantage. And so once that happened, I just kept furthering, how do I do it fast, and how do I get other people to be doing it fast themselves, how to be fearless about it.
It's a absolute force multiplier. We've got some people working with a, let's say, a parts distributor at an asset now, and the lag time of launching new products is it's just insane. Like, I had a similar company I was working with, and we got them up to like 80 new products a year. And these are very boilerplate nuts and bolts products, nothing innovative, right? You can right. And I think this other organization launched 3 in like the last 5 years, or maybe a little less. And if you when you're unpacking that with this team, like the lack of responsiveness to emails, or I will do, it's like, we could do that next week. We could do that next week. And then they'll have a meeting 3 months later and nothing gets decided. And I have personally found that speed gets rid of not laziness, but maybe it's like lack of organizational cohesion, and creates a little bit of momentum. Would you say that's true? And how have you thought about that?
In terms of momentum, let's just take a look at it, because I start with marketing all the time when I'm looking at things. It's the most attractive thing you can have, because everybody
Interesting.
thinks you know what you're doing, you're moving fast, you're able to get things done. Who do you want to hand the ball to in a company? The manager who's got a reputation for worrying a thing to death, or the guy who's cranking it out, getting things done? I mean, it's an automatic instinct. What's this guy all about? How does he getting it? How's she moving so fast? It's working. How are they doing that? And before I worry about how they're doing it, here's a promotion, here's money, here's everything. So it's a human condition that we just look at those things and say, when somebody is mind numbingly tedious and slow, that we wonder, are they an academic or are they a dumbbell?
It's interesting you say that, and the 2 thoughts that I work at this industrial service asset, and one of my guys, Ray, he says this: "I'm so tired of these guys admiring the problem." And I'd never heard it framed that way before. And it's like that slow pace is exhausting. And the second thing, for you go into marketing too, the marketing people, that's what I call the white glove of sales, right? You know what I mean? Like the white glove of a function. It's like, we got to think strategically about this, right? It's like, no, like, launch 30 products, 5 of them will suck and fail. You're talking about a distribution company for industrial parts. As I said, none of this is like, Jobs ain't going back and saying, hey, redo the iPhone again, right? Like, no, start over. No, this is like nuts and bolts, figuratively, but almost literally. It's like, get 30 more to market, right? As fast as possible. And
I got started in industrial distribution, hydraulic and pneumatic components.
very similar things to that.
Brought speed to that because I
Speci
was just so impatient and they were stalled. What do
What do
you
you think drives an org? What do you think drives an org to not have speed, right? Or like, why don't people put a premium on that?
Now we start to, you start to head towards the psychology of dysfunction, and you start to look at the things, and as you're talking to people and admiring them, because I admire business people. I mean, the
Yep.
real ones, not the stuff you read in social media. I'm talking about people that are working on getting it done. I admire them. Now, once you start doing that and you got any kind of a heart at all, you start saying, well, what did your mother do to you that made you this way? Because I know what my mother did and what my father did. What did your parents do? And you know what they did was they made you risk adverse. And I don't mean risk adverse in the smart way, but risk
Yep.
adverse in the way that has hamstrung leaders for centuries. People have looked back in history and found this back in the Crimean War, for God's sake, that long ago. So yeah, it's that, and we do something in business that makes it the worst. It makes everybody risk adverse. One thing we do, which we could cure, but we just say, I don't know that that's such a problem, and it is. It's the one thing that's crippling them.
Wait, say more on that. It's what is driving the lack of risk taking in, like, call it bigger corporations?
Second guessing.
Second, the people worried about somebody taking pot shots after they made a mistake.
Worried about it. It
Yeah, well, they do.
happens
They do,
by
right?
the minute, and you look, the studies are out there, so the research has already been done, but, oh my god, Captain Hindsight is murdering your speed. Now, again, do we have to do postmortems? Absolutely. Do we have to do after action? Absolutely. But there's that smarty pants edge to it where they say, if you would have done this and this, it would have turned out better, that makes everybody go, I've just been spoken to. And I'm not going to put myself in that position again. So why do we let that be done? Why would a CEO let somebody waltz around the room, taking away everyone's urgency by hindsight bias, which is absolutely known, fully revealed to be nothing but a logical fallacy?
I've never heard the term hindsight bias before. That's very interesting. That's something you've given me something to go unpack over the weekend. I've always found, like, if you got a company that, private as a company, if the company is absolutely smashing it, nobody cares, right? Like, the CEO's doing his thing, nobody bothers them. If everything's behind the 8 ball, like 30, 40% plan, you got a debt issue, you can go sign up for that. I will take the ownership and accountability. This thing's going to die. You can get in that with the toughest thing is, like, something's like stuck in neutral. Like, they're supposed to be growing 7, 8% a year, 10% a year, and they're growing one or losing one. And nobody wants to make a decision. And because I guess if they make it worse, it's almost like they're playing not to lose, not playing to win. I'm guessing that goes in there. So, okay. So
So
that's,
wait, one thing you should remember about
go
that
ahead.
one, because it's going to be valuable to you guys. And the one thing you should remember about that is that 95% of all companies go into that mode of stall where you said grow one, go backwards one, blah, blah, blah. 95 of the companies experience a stall. But what is interesting about it is that 66% of them never get out and get back to growth.
Wow.
And when you say, why do they not get back to growth? Everybody's got a hindsight view that doesn't include the fact that they made everyone second guess themselves and slow down and not make decisions and not move forward. You said
It's
it earlier, make it happen, do something, see what works, continue to grow. That's the bias that a CEO's got to have, and they got to protect all those green shoots that are doing it. Protect them.
It's interesting. So, like, my new like CEO man crush was that he's gone now, the T-Mobile CEO, and I think his deputy took over, and he just went in there and did a bunch of stuff, right? Like, he took away the carrier, the 2-year contract. He took away the perception his network was worse. He took away, or like, it was, well, why would you pay for 1% network reduction 2 times the price, right? He's like, give them what they want, just execute it. I think he bought, not bought 18, he bought somebody Sprint, I think, and it's almost like you have to have a nanny, for lack of a better word, protecting people and allowing them to fail. And it's super interesting now that you're saying. So, is that the only catalyst that will get them out of the mud? Is it like a new leader coming in, or is there other? How can you cultivate speed in your org if you're like a mid-level vice president or like direct?
Cultivate speed if you're a mid-level.
Like, you're mid-level buried in the org, right? You're not going to see the CEO come in and do it pretty easy, right, or moderately easy.
Well, definitely they make it or break it as far as making it happen throughout the company. But as far as a leader is concerned, a leader has tasks and responsibilities. The simple math of a leader is to make the team reporting to them more valuable, to make them perform better. And that's pretty easy because whatever they're doing now, better is better. So now you go to that and you say, is there anything that I can do? Is there any reason for me to learn how to utilize speed in order to create a catalyst for the organization to say, huh, what's this pal, this gal doing over here? And I've talked to a lot of leaders mid-level in terms of getting their story and how they do things, because so much of what goes on in business happens at their level. The ultimate leaders in follow through, the people that really knew execution, were strongly female. And why were they strongly female? Because who do you give the ball to when you go, okay, we've done the strategy. Now all you have to do is follow through. You give it to her because it's not that big a deal. And then,
It's
of course, we know it's the biggest deal of all. What do you know?
it's
That's the
so
hardest thing
funny.
in the world.
It's so funny you say that. I was talking to a gentleman last week, and he's like, "The dopamine is gone once you're over the idea, and then you've just got to bang out the work." And and I have met a lot of people that have had a lot of mileage in their career going into boardroom with big ideas. It's one of the things I asked during an interview when they have like an impactful. I go, "What did you do personally on this day in day out for a week?" It's like, and they're like, "Well, my team is not your team. What did you do?" Like, well, we and sometimes I've been like 5 times and they won't go to I did this. We're trained a lot, particularly as a military. You never say I. You never say, you're not just with the we, the team. No, I want to know what this guy did because it's the closest proxy I can get to for how fast somebody moves. Okay, now
I got stories of
how
women that are in those that were in those circumstances that gave me enormous insights, which I then backtracked and did all of my research in terms of business research, psychological research, historical research, all of those kinds of things. Not so much to mention that to people, but rather that 500,000 pages of research was there to say, is there something in this story worth telling other people? And can I tell it with confidence? Because the story matters more than the statistics. But if the statistics support that story and they say that's a good story, then I feel very strongly about it. And so at the Wall Street Journal, at American Airlines and other places, I found people who had made it happen, and they were all middle. That was a
all middle.
leap of faith on the part of the publisher, by the way. They only want those golden boy stories of CEOs, man on a white horse kind of nonsense. And I just said, they don't execute. You want a book on execution? I can do that. But I got to talk to people who do it. I can't talk to people who take credit for what they did. I got to talk to the actual people.
So it's interesting you say that. I spent a little bit of time at Amazon and everybody takes things away from different places and I never forget they had this thing where they would give somebody a singular task. They would take like an MBA student and like they had this circus tent thing concept. They'd set up a circus tent and they gave this one guy, I think he was 30, like you're going to commercialize our circus tent flexible capacity for the holiday season. If you give somebody one task and tie their entire compensation to it, it will get done. Like 95% of the time, it will get done, right? You've already made the decision. There will be no hindsight. Your job is to go do this. If you say do the circus tent in your day job at your evening job and you're working in the warehouse the rest of the time, they're going to push that to the right at all times. Interesting. I haven't thought about that in 15 years. Okay, so I have a strong opinions on work from home culture. And my reason is the best vice president I had when I was at the big shop is he was in the area with the people at their desk and he would almost do like a route every day. Like he had 4 or 5 people on his team and he would like check in with this person for an hour, like or 15 minutes every hour. He'd check in with this person like 30 more minutes. Then he'd go, I don't know, he'd read an article, he'd do some typing, he'd send some emails, and then he'd go check in with person number 4, and then check person number 5. That doesn't happen on Zoom. Like nobody does those rotate. You don't leave the Zoom line open with your little pod. Given that, where do you see work from home here to stay? Are people are they going to lag behind if you use that model? I have now people say I'm biased. I've had people even call me like you're a boomer. I could farthest thing from a boomer. I'm an elder millennial. But what are your thoughts on that and the connectivity? I'd love to hear it. And even if you did any research, you did any like kind of non-co-located employees.
Well, I have been since the day. I have been hearing the rumblings and the complaints of people about the whole work from home demand, the whole work from home, I'm not coming back, the whole
Yeah.
work from home. This is the new thing. Obviously, I leaf through a lot of the articles just to simply make sure that I'm still on track with how much absolute horseshit there is being published and printed and talked about, because I don't want to be the guy who discovered that in the 80s and now it's 2025 and you say, yeah, we've let go of all that nonsense. So work from home has been a really important thing, quiet quitting, all of those
Yep.
things, and they have been talked about and they have been studied and researched since the dawn of the management sciences. Okay, there were
Interesting.
people doing things in 1920 that you'd say, "What? It's 1920. I thought you guys were just still cave people when it came to business. We know everything now, but you knew nothing, right?" And you would just sit there and say, I'm marveling at the way they do stuff. But the base of it is this: when it comes to the work from home, that is a symptom. It is not the disease. What is it a symptom of? Paul, if you say to me, look, matter of fact, I just had somebody say it to me. Okay, so it's an absolutely happening right now story. I just had somebody say to me, I need your help. We need to figure out how to stop hiring the wrong people, hire more of the right people, because
Yep.
our whole business is built on reliability. So the second thing we want you to do is help us find the way to follow through more flawlessly. More flawlessly. We follow through, but it's just not good enough. So here's the thing. They said to me, now look, you live 90 minutes away from us, and we want you to do this with their main office because they've got people around the world. We want you to do this in our main office. You live 90 minutes away. You can do it by Zoom if you want. And I said, yeah, I don't want to. Why don't I want to? Because if I can see you, I can talk to you. I will see little movements in your face. I will watch your eyes change their focus. I will watch me saying something and boring you. I will get a connection that will let you tell me stuff that I can make a difference fast by knowing it. So I'm there because I need to be. Not
I
because Jamie said, "Oh my God, you have to be in the office or boom." Don't care. Don't care, man. Come on. What I care about is what's the result. And if you've got people working for you that don't care about the result, your problem isn't work from home. Your problem is who the hell is working in HR and not being scored for hiring the wrong people.
It's I find I could used to could do 10 hours of conference calls back to back, 12 hours, like, on the phone. 4 hours of Zoom exhausts me, and it is and the connectivity. The other thing too is, like, if you've got a couple business units, I saw, like, we had a healthcare team in my old firm, and we had an industrials team, blah, blah, blah. The healthcare guy and the industrials guy don't talk that much, but if they go get a cup of coffee, they'll start briefing each other on the you know what I mean? They'll brief each other on what's happening in the business, and there's this, like, really de facto informal communication channels. One of the things I do when I underwrite, like, an asset is, I'm a big fan of the Hawthorne effect. I'm essentially, you know what this is, obviously, and, they go, "Well, like, what's the plan?" I'm like, "We're gonna show up for the first 100 days, and we're just gonna listen. The results will go up just by us showing up." Very few people can make that logical leap, and then if you don't change anything, then you actually take all their ideas and then, from where the gears are at. Okay, so, one more on the work from home kit. What people say is the best talent will want to work from home. I want you to I want you to beat that up because I disagree, but I'd like to hear your take. My take is less interesting and academic, I'm sure.
Can I just first tell everybody, would you make a note of the Hawthorne effect, please? This is the worst sin of our current social media. It's the no homework zone. The Hawthorne effect happened at a company. It was something that they realized. There's other studies and other things that back it up. Then there's the critics who started, man, it's not this, it's not that. You should know what the Hawthorne effect is. There are things you should know if you're going to hang out in a sports bar, or you
Yep.
are going to get kicked out. And there's things you should know if you're going to talk with business people, or they're going to roll their eyes and say, who's this wanker? I'm not saying everything, but you have a responsibility to do your homework. And
Yep.
you don't get that when you read social media. So that's a, that's just me, but damn, it's why I dropped out of a lot of things because God, these people. But your question was, About your
What
best
else is the
people
best
not
talent?
wanting to waste their time commuting?
That's what they say. Well, you're not gonna get like, a lot of recruiters too. You're not gonna get top tier talent if you don't have some sort of hybrid flexible working model. And I kinda reject that, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, what's necessary? What would get me the most? Now, if you say it's best for everyone that they never meet me, okay, I now know something about you. It's not an attribute, but I know something about you. I know you need a charisma transplant. I got to find somehow to give you a charismectomy because, man, why is it that you are so distasteful to be around? The second thing is I don't read people and I can't read between the lines when I have a chat with somebody. I can't learn their story. I can't get that going. Well, if you can't do that, you ought to learn to do that because there's no way you can be in leadership without it. So at that
Yep,
level, if somebody says to me, I'm not going to use the tools or the learning that comes with why you get together in person. Now look, I have friends all over the world. There's a reason that all this technology is a wonderful thing.
yep,
It lets me touch them now, even though they're in Melbourne, Australia. Okay. Now,
yep.
have I met them in person? Yes. Do they know me like crazy? Yes. Have we connected and many times and done, and chewed a lot of the same dirt? You bet. But this gives me a chance to stay connected, as does a PDF that I send them that's good, as does a email that I send them that isn't a trial to read, as does my little notes sometimes on their social media that they're doing. These things all let me stay connected, but we made our bond in person.
Yep, and that's I can maintain a relationship after, I forge it over Zoom and calls. I can't open a relationship, and I prefer to open a relationship over a dinner, honestly. I hokey, it's a little spiritual. Breaking bread with someone's a little spiritual, in my opinion.
Yes, I hope
The
we have one someday.
I know that's good. I have to that's a guy. I go out to the bay to meet you. So let's pivot over to like action, like before, because I'd say 35% of the people that listen to this are entrepreneurs. If you're a founder, you've got a good product idea. What can you do to cultivate speed in your team in executing in the early stages?
You want to hire fast people.
Okay.
That's one of the things. And so now, what does that mean though? Because this is not social media where you just say hire fast people. Bullet point number 2, do this. No, no, no,
Yep.
no, no. What does it take to hire fast people? You've got to draw a profile of fast people. You got to determine what are the characteristics that tell you that they are fast. What are the characteristics that tell you that they're slow? What are the characteristics that you can measure without having tearing your hair out trying to deal with Minnesota multiphasic personality dynamics or
The big five.
the big five. You can do a lot of stuff intuitively, and you can also come up with questions and answers, and you can begin to build that profile, and you can profile the people that are fast, and you can get a gut feeling for what it is. So first of
Yeah.
all, you got to hire fast people. You've got to bring them in. Not every role in your company has to be as fast as the others.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to move in a look, take an example. If somebody is extremely conscientious, okay, and I'm talking about a 10 or a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10,
Yep.
they're not going to be the fastest person in the room. But I
Interesting.
need that in some activities. And so I bless that in those activities. And I don't let any of my fast people make them feel bad because this is their deal. And I use them for their strengths, which is what I've been talking to a person about in business recently, which is the idea in business is to use people for their strengths and make their weaknesses irrelevant. Not this thing that moms and dads grew up with, which was whatever your faults are, I've got to cure those. And I don't care that you get straight A's. You should get straight A's. I expect you to get straight A's.
Yep.
Damn it.
Is it low agreeableness, low conscientiousness leads to speed? Is that the formula?
Well, there's certainly aspects of agreeableness that slow you down. Extroversion is something typically that brings up speed, but they also are less careful. So they
Yeah.
need somebody that's taking a look at it and saying, this is a fine thing to be fast with. This is a place where you need to go and have a break. You need to go over here and go do this because I don't want you in the room for this part. This is the part where we're going to do a pre-mortem. And that means that somebody went through a post-mortem and really knows all the problems, and they're comfortable in those discussions. So yeah, there are places, there are pieces, agreeableness, conscientiousness isn't going to be as high in the fast person. And if they have emotional stability, they're
Not neurotic, not
not
neurotic,
neurotic
not neurotic, extroverted.
or neurotic.
I'm neurotic.
Okay. I'm a little, but I'm not crazy neurotic.
Yeah.
I'm obsessive compulsive, and so I've got my things that you gotta go along with. But yes, it's looking at the person and saying I can do this, and then getting the person with enough emotional stability and to a degree agreeableness that they can be part of a team. Team tennis. You stand behind the person and you say, "Don't worry about that, partner. I got it."
Yeah. It's
And you don't
it,
yell at them. Where
it
this
it's
came from, and I know some of the people that brought it about, it was one of the blights on management. This finger pointing and blaming. So not bad because it's bad ethically, bad because it hurts my profitability.
yeah. The other thing I've noticed, it's a theme now, is everybody has a right to give feedback on every single thing at all times. And some take it to the extreme of, and all of it must be actioned, right? So like how did we get there? Right. And I'm not saying we need to be totally command and control. And it's one of the reasons I like to stress things, because like if you're in the bathroom and your kid's choking on something, I don't have to ask your permission to do the Heimlich. Right, and it's like, you would expect me to in, like, week 15, and you're not gonna go, "Well, you held his, you broke a rib, so, we're mad at you," like, that's my feedback, don't try not to break a rib next time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what so how did we
I
get
blame Weber.
what's that?
I blame Weber.
Which Weber? Which Weber?
Max Weber.
I don't know Max Weber.
Max Weber invented the concept of the bureaucracy. Max Weber invented the four pillars of bureaucracy. And by God, Max Weber was trying to do us a favor, and he did. It was a great idea until it wasn't. It was a wonderful solution until it stopped being it. And so when he created it and he process police came into it, and then we have I looked it up this morning because I was going to bring it up to you. I was disturbed greatly by the thought, only the thought, because they didn't read the book. I'm okay, you're okay. And it was the whole thing of every opinion is equal. Lived experiences takes the place of Newton and Einstein. It was the whole thing. And I believe in openness. I believe in listening. I believe I get tremendous insights from that. But I also believe, and I bite my lip, that when something is nonsense, it's nonsense. When it's horseshit, it's horseshit. And matter of fact, you recently, I don't know if it's gotten worse or I'm just noticing it more, but you put posts up. You called somebody, you said something was jackass thinking yesterday. And I
It was
just
no, it
said,
was
well,
the
this
guy
guy
saying,
is not suffering fools gladly. Where did he come from?
well, so that's the 2 things. The guy was like, "I can't believe 50-year-olds now are telling kids to go into the trades when they are investment bank." Like, a business degree was 6 or 7 grand. It was 6 or 7 grand when you school. The facts have changed. Like, it's a more viable, like, it's a I hear you, and then we went to this whole thing where any degree mattered, even if it's, gender studies is just as valid as engineering, right? Just as important, it's just as good. Any college degree is fine. I just I'm getting too old. So the funny thing you said about the patience, I always assumed I was gonna get more patient as I got older. I've actually gotten less patient. Like,
Really?
much less, because it's the same
I
shit
don't, I'm
over.
going to look forward to when you're my age then.
I'm
Of
gonna
course,
be
I
so
won't be.
I'm gonna be insufferable then.
You are going to be, yeah, you're going to be insufferable. Yeah. I mean, you will be so much more patient with your grandchildren. I can tell you
I
that. Nuts with how you'd say, this is my chance, God. I promised you. I saw my mistake with my son, and I
Yeah,
promised you I would learn from it. And by God, I'm going to follow that through. I am going
that
to take
is
these little kids and I am going to just absolutely cure everything I did that was wrong.
yeah, that's probably where that crept into my head, is the not the it's the you've seen the whole story personally, and you know that the day to day doesn't it really matter as much. And if it's the big rocks that matter, not the little pebbles. Okay, so I did my thing with my Chat GPT. I actually do remember Max Weber now, and the what has happened, I think, is you basically have this situation where it's you want to give equal credence to a mid-level manager as you give to the CEO because it's respectful and kind. When I was at McKinsey, we used to do this thing called a social network analysis where we would like scrape everybody's emails and we'd have them vote on this list like who do you get your information from, write down a name like this, and we do this diagram where it actually shows the 65-year-old union steward has more influence in the organization, his bubble was bigger than the ops director. And it was like a really cool analysis because if you could wrangle those people and get them on the page for what needed to happen. So that said, so the bureaucracy doesn't work, right? Could this be engineered? Like, because those guys, could you engineer like not a plant, but like, how do I create in an org key influencers and workers that can help me speed it up? I'm probably not going to ask the right question, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The absolute excitement when some of the first people that were involved with Kaizen breakthrough technology inside of businesses talked to me was as they were explaining the process. And these are some of the people that were noted as the most brilliant ever, who were actually sat at the feet of Taiichi Ono, learning the fundamentals that he thought of, and they were pulling those in as they would go through and tell me their stories and tell me what had happened and all the rest of it. I just sat there marveling at the concepts that would erase dysfunction in businesses, that would make them faster, and that would get those things done. What did they do? What did they do when they were doing a Kaizen event? They pulled together a team. The team had to be from multi-disciplines. They all had to understand. I had one guy explain it to me, CEO of a big company. He said, "You know what? I like dumb questions because they make me reconsider my assumptions." So he would have people with no concept whatsoever on all the little things and the acronyms and the jargon. And they would go, wait a second, what's that word mean? He would bring them into these things simply to make his fast moving, jargon built executives answer the question and look for root causes and look for answers. So, how do you do that? One person told me that was in that was that they show respect. Respect. Respect for if they're on the team, they get respect. If they
Yep.
don't deserve respect, why are they there? And by the way, who's in charge of this? Because I'm not going to be mad at them. I'm going to be mad at who hired them, who leads them, who manages them. Mad, mad, mad. We deliver respect. We respect everybody. And big companies, $8 and $10 billion, have guiding principles that they worked very hard to follow, that talks about how you have to thank people for a job well done, how you have to
It's
listen with your full attention, and they take it seriously. You will
it's
not progress if you don't do those kinds of things. And then yet other companies where a senior vice president said to someone, and I heard it secondhand, but she's legit. The senior vice president said, "I have been trying to explain myself to other people and get them to explain themselves to me for my entire career. That's over now. It's time for other people to put in the effort." And she couldn't believe how stupid he was. And she couldn't believe how much trouble it was going to cause her as someone who was trying to get more and more follow through a very big semiconductor company.
yeah.
Couldn't believe it. And yet that person was right near the top suite.
So I launched a lead transformation at the one of the sites that I was at. I was thinking it was 29 or 30, and first Kaizen event. I was like prepping it up. We were to do the first Kaizen event. It was the chemicals business, and I had the guys picking out the Kaizen team, and I took. I don't want to hyperbole. I think we were in there 2.5, 3 hours just picking out a team and evaluating every person at the site and how are they being impactful. And I remember, I think it was my logistics manager just being so frustrated. Like, why do these 6 people matter so much? And I loop back, not mindfully, influencers in the org, extroverted, like extroverted, disagreeable, cross-functional team across the site, and it went very, very well. And a little funny anecdote from that is I got these patches underscore that said like Kaizen participant and Kaizen leader. And they took about 2 months. It was right out of the GFC. Money was slow. It cost like $5,000. It was like money was tight then, and we were a construction chemicals business. And suddenly these guys show up with their Cintas uniforms on, and you would not believe what 40-year-old men wanted to patch on the side of their uniform. Right? We're talking about all this org theory and control stuff, if you distill it down, it's respect. It's respect from the management. It's respect from it's that you did something I feel like we're losing. This was almost 20 years ago now. I feel like we're losing that in orgs a little bit. I'm not hearing the stories these days of the Toyotas. Like, who's the next Toyota coming up that just executes flawlessly? Who's the next like Danaher? I mean, Facebook is incredible. You don't hear nobody comes that I've met that's worked at Facebook has been like a cult, like it's like a cult there. Like, I'm so happy to go in. I have heard that about people that worked at Danaher. That they come out of Danaher and they're like, "Well, I loved working there. It was the best." I've never really heard that from a Facebook person. Obviously not, now that it's a scale company. What do you think we need to do more
Remember
broadly
when it was Disney? Or you're not that old. When
which
I
one?
was first coming up, my God,
Oh,
I was
yeah,
so
of course.
proud
I
to
bet
be
it
working
was.
for Disney.
I bet it was. That's super interesting, right? I
Yeah,
forget.
you kill it. That's all it shows you is you could kill it. If you did you want to kill it? You did it. Was that intentional? I'd like to write your notes down so that we can know what not to do.
I so it's so McKinsey did a partnership with I think the Disney Institute. Are you familiar with this? So they had like their
No, I'm
consulting.
familiar.
Disney had this consulting firm. I don't know if they still do, called the Disney Institute, that they would go teach customer experience to people.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
which I mean, like that's that's legitimate, right? Now that I met the consulting team there, they were very Disney, right? They were very Disney. Like, they had a Disney cut about their gym. I think this was 2012 when I met this people, and I remember the McKinsey guys going there like the Disney guy said, "We needed these prerequisites if you guys are ready for change, and if you're about this." And it was a little not touchy feely, but it was like a company had to be ready to go on this journey. I hope Disney can find it back again because I mean, what an incredible company.
Oh, the fact is, and it was a McKinsey consultant that said this to me. The fact is, they have a big, big problem, and that problem has existed in businesses since organizations have first been developed. This guy at McKinsey was known as the human white flag.
What does that
That
mean?
it means that when everybody else says we surrender, they sent him in. And I said, I have got to hang with you
Oh,
all day. Tell me anything. And he had a big desk and he would pound his hand over and over. I have the recording and I said, what's that noise? Oh yeah, that was him pounding his damn fist. He was a sweet, wonderful guy. He turned around a big insurance company, but he said to me, look, the problem in these businesses is you got to admit your baby's ugly.
yeah, absolutely.
And he said, that's the problem that I've got. And if you want to go back through the line by line re-engineering of Circuit City, because that was a big thing in Good to Great,
It
right?
was I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and what a failure! What a monumental train wreck they turned into. And yet, you want to go through that, and if you get really deep in it and you know a little bit about it, like I do from hanging around with it, you find out
Yep.
that they just couldn't admit their baby was ugly. Now, nobody means, by the way, for the people that are listening to this that aren't hardcore, nobody means your child. This is not
Yeah.
what it is.
It's
It's in business. They have stuff and they say, well, that's my baby. That's my
I
baby. Like at Blockbuster, what was their baby? We love rewind fees. Love, love, love. Yeah, but don't you understand how much that gets under people's skin? Don't care. Don't care. Move on. What's the real problem we have here? Because that ain't it. That's my baby.
It's so funny you say that. I can't stand when somebody charges me 50 cents for a cup of like sauce on like a takeout order. I would rather them build it into the price. Like, if they've got to do that, I can't deal with like I forgot about the rewind fees. Blockbuster has an interesting problem is that the nature of new movie releases, they create this weird skew proliferation issue. Right, so, like, every year you're getting pounded with more movies, and at first you have 100 copies, then it goes down, but, like, you never have less movies. You always have more variety. I'm trying to think of the good to great companies. Kroger is probably still very good, I would say. I mean, the expansion, they're bigger, they may be a little slower. Fannie Mae is not doing good. Fannie Mae is not doing good. Wells Fargo not doing good. Walgreens not doing good. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's very interesting.
And then see, this is the tough part. If you're studying business and you're studying it through the kind of junk that you get on social media, you got to stop yourself because you got to think about things you already know, like sports. Nobody says, "Oh my God, the Green Bay Packers don't know anything about winning Super Bowls," because
Yeah,
it's
more
the
time.
trophy call,
They've won 4 or 5,
the
right?
Lombardi
Yeah, that's
Trophy.
absolutely.
Oh my God, you don't. Yes, they have stumbled. And it wasn't just Lombardi's absence that made them stumble. Yes, they have stumbled, but you have got to look deeper into the success. So you got to look at the success that they had and the things that drove these companies forward. People ask me, well, what are some of the companies that have a lot of speed? And I think, well, Intel had speed till they didn't. Ideal had speed till they didn't.
Yeah.
Disney had speed till they didn't. Do people have it, lose it, and get it back? I present Apple and lose it again.
Yep.
I present Apple. Google had speed till they didn't. The thing is, we're looking, you got to be like a real head coach where you're saying, "Oh, wait a second. He lost the Super Bowl, but that's a hell of a defensive line coach.
Yep.
This, he did this, he did this in the game. I saw it. Fabulous." If you are just sitting there studying success and then letting some Nimrod tell you because the success stopped, therefore it is an illegitimate success, I'm telling you, you're going to get a wedgie in the sports bar with that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
You're going to get marched right out because that's easy, crazy to not know how those things come together and that you've got to assemble the successes into your playbook so that you can make things happen.
Yeah. You remember the HBR article that diagnosed dinosaur diagnostic, where it's like startup, like kind of scale, high growth, and then kind of mature organization, and it's different people for different kind of those orgs. And I've probably said this 5 times. Like, there are very few Zuckerbergs and very few jobs that can take small up to big and manage a big company and execute well. Zuckerberg still needed Sheryl Sandberg, obviously, for your woman example, to go out there and get stuff done and monetize this, right? When does an org not need speed? When do you not want them to have speed? Like, what is I'm making this, like, do we want Pfizer to be slower and more deliberate, right? So Johnson & Johnson got into a bind with the marketing of Risperidol and stuff and like settlements and stuff. Maybe those orgs need to be slower. I don't know. I don't know.
No, it all boils down to the way that you want to define it, I think. It really boils down to the way you want to define speed. For example, do you want to define speed as having less do-overs?
Got it. Less do-overs.
Did I say
Okay.
less few do-overs? I'm a writer. That's crazy. Fewer do-overs? Take
I
that
got
out.
it. I would never even notice, trust me.
So fewer do-overs. Is that one
Yeah.
of the things? Secondly, responsiveness to clients. As soon as your clients say, take your time. Don't care if you don't get back to me.
Yeah.
When that happens, you can slow down. You can slow down, you can stand still, you can do whatever you want. And if when that happens, please let me know because it will be the first time it happened and hell has just developed snowballs. It's not going to happen. So, are there things we have to slow down on? Are there things that we do? Yeah, sure. And when you do something the first time, this is where people drive me crazy. I developed a brand new presentation for somebody on a tough concept of change leadership and
Okay.
put all the pieces together. I said, look, this is the first time that I've talked about it. And they gave me notes halfway through it when they were having their people stand up and take all the energy and air out of the room because their
Yep.
people were miserable. And so they gave me notes during that and told me I should do this, I should do that, I should do this, I should do that. And I've been doing this a while and I've put some pretty good pieces together and I got a lot of thumbs up from various people, the secret ones that you get in the room. And I just thought to myself, do you understand what I should do to do this better? I should do it a second time, dummy.
Yep.
And I don't need you telling me this because I've watched you in front of a room and you got no business telling anybody anything other than thank you, sir, for letting me sit and listen to you. You're terrible. And so when it comes to speed, there are things we need to slow down. We don't want haste. But just by getting rid of do-overs, we've sped up our company.
Yep.
And we're not going to totally get rid of them. There's iteration, but we can get rid of the ones that are not do-overs, the do-over, but 4 times, 5 times. How many times do you make the same mistake before you say, "You're not learning, sir"? Somewhere in there it
Yep.
comes in. I'm not sure where, but yeah, you can definitely analyze that. And by the
Okay,
way,
so the
don't get hindsight in it. Captain Hindsight, they don't belong.
so it's interesting. The company that hasn't commercialized a lot of products, they they did get one new product to market, and it's
Yeah.
like, so you gotta balance, like, little gestures. They tried 11 times, like, they had because they knew it was they saw the market need, they were right about it, but they were so they prided themselves being flexible and, like, not trying what that means literally 0 structure, right? And it was they were entrepreneurial. You could have made some, better decisions. Lawrence, I could talk to you all day. I,
Can I just tell you one thing then?
yeah, go nuts.
Here it is. What led you to write, "It's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the
Yep.
slow"? Okay? It wasn't led. Lead's not the accurate word, more like stumbled out of a fiery train wreck, bruised, battered, but not broken. And that's what led to the book.
So what
Stumbling out of a fiery train wreck.
but just a bad org?
No, a terrible way of going about how do you get published. It
Got it.
was every bit of conventional wisdom followed to the T because we were in a new area, and to reduce risk, bright entrepreneurs who do wild things and are very innovative, they get to an area that they don't know and they become the meekest. I can only do the conventional wisdom. They are the sorriest excuse of someone who should know better because everything else in their career told them, be radical, be different, go out there. We
Yep.
followed every bit of conventional wisdom, and I'm telling you, it was a fiery train wreck. You could hear the shredders, the industrial shredders, all the way in California from New York City, as the publishers took everything that we sent them, the outline, the sample chapters, all that stuff, everything conventional wisdom, and shredded it.
It
Uh,
is
and one conversation with a guy who said, "I did shred that because it was awful. But I'll tell you this, if you can come up with a title that I think would stop people walking through an airport bookstore,
yep.
I will give you a second meeting. Not a deal, no, but
Eh,
I will give you a little FaceTime."
well, it's caps. This buddy of mine was gonna like write this book on this is years ago on like some kind of business rules thing. I was like, I remember your title is terrible. Like I forget what it was. It was like this is just terrible, objectively terrible. And I forget what he ended up landing. I don't know if he ever wrote it, but it was like, and then that was my lens was passing by. Before I ask you my final question, I asked everybody, is there anything new you're researching now?
Well, yes, I am. Absolutely. It is this. Everything that I've picked up to the point that I am right now, does it work? And so I've taken an assignment to simply immerse myself on the street, at the front row, right there at the coal face, to try and get more follow through right now. And I'm telling you, it's just like you would imagine it. It is absolutely a frontline kind of work. It is
Yeah.
explaining yourself in a different way so that it makes sense. It's watching people not get it. It's hearing their stories and then figuring out how to use their story to propel them into a new bit of learning. And it's
Yep.
also rewriting everything I thought to make it more relevant, more impactful, more right. And there's only one way you do that. The way that I did it, that way at the beginning. They threw me out on the street and said, "Just tag along." And the guy looked at me like, "I'm dying here. Can you help?" And I said, "Okay." And I tried some stuff and it worked. And the next thing you know, I had a reputation.
It's awesome. We will absolutely have to do this again. I have to get a beer or a sparkly beverage together. What is and I ask everybody this question. Yeah.
'Cause I have a lot of questions about private equity, by the way.
We could go for hours.
Not,
No, I'll follow up with well, I won't drop immediately after we stop. I'll tell you something. But what book did you read that was most impactful on your life?
had a magician say to me, "Let me tell you a trick. Let me tell you, let me tell you something that that magicians know if they ever get any good. You want to learn a new trick? He said to me, read an old book.
Okay.
So I have a lot of old books around, and I do look at them to get new ideas. If you talk in any discipline, I can tell you something specific like decision making, dysfunction,
So
those kinds of things.
best book on people skills relating to people.
Well, the best book on people skills is not this one, although this is a good one. Oh, you can't. It's right. It's backwards.
That's
Managing
true.
for
I've never
Results
read that.
by Peter
I need to
Drucker.
read Managing the Results. I got to put that on my list.
You can open it to any page, get something, close it, and stare out the window on an airplane. It's a very cool book, very inspirational to me. You can see I have marked it up, read it, I've given it to people, and begged people to talk to me about it because that's what somebody did for me. They gave it to me, and then we talked for a year about it. So that's the one. But if you want to talk about people, okay,
Yep.
you want to talk about people, get past all the Caladinis and all that other. No, 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 no. Harry Levinson, The Great Jackass Fallacy.
Great jackass fallacy.
Mhm.
What?
If you look at that and you don't say to me, I will eat my hat, I'll eat your hat.
I am.
Eh, he
I
did
am.
more than that, but man, that one is like seminal. And
I
it's
am.
so easy to read.
It is.
So
It is.
easy.
It is getting added to my Amazon. Pure title alone and your recommendation. It's getting added to my Amazon cart now. I'm still a hard copy kind of person. I like highlighting and marking in the margin. Lawrence, it has been an absolute pleasure. I still think it's odd in a good way to meet somebody that you read their book 25 years ago. I still had a dorky sailor suit on. And it's super good to meet you. Where can everybody get in touch with you?
I don't know. You know, you've listened to me. Does anybody want to get in touch with me? Look at the kind of things I say. I mean, I'm not housebroken. You know what I mean? You got to put a sandbox out when I come over. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, I have email. Anybody can reach that. And you know, I've got text and the other stuff. If somebody needs to reach me, I'm easy to find, and I'm glad to talk to anyone because every conversation teaches me something new. But other than that, I stopped with all of the websites and social media, personal branding, and come on.
All the way, all the conventional wisdom, you know, all the conventional wisdom that's going out there.
Talk to Paul. You can ask him how'd you get in touch with him. He's got
That's
all the information. You can
that's
share it. But frankly, listen, I understand. You just listen to me. I probably said 10 things that just torqued you off, maybe only five. And so now you're saying to yourself, I don't want to listen to that guy. Look, he's going to, I don't want to hang around with him either. And I understand. It makes
I
perfect sense.
I can't think that's farther from the truth. Super good to talk to you today, Lawrence. Looking forward to meeting you live at some point. If I could do a plug, read this book. Speed matters in business.
It's
It's
not the
abs-
big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. I just had somebody buy a bunch of them after he read it for a speech that he was doing or something along that line. But I just was so surprised that something from 2001 would still speak to him. So I asked him, what? And he told me, and that was a useful conversation.
It is. It's almost the only thing that matters. And if you're in a distress situation, it is critical. You can, and I can argue, make an argument it's for any org. Quick story, real quick, and then it's like we're looking at gotta be a little careful. We're looking at a manufacturer of desserts that what you would find in your freezer section. And if you look outside in, you would say there's literally nothing you could do to make this better. It might grow. I am testing that hypothesis. Could you add speed as a competitive advantage to this, and what would it do? And we'll see. We're putting a bid out today. We'll see. I think there's a lot of upside in it, but it would require the entire culture of the org to change.
Ooh, that's a big one. You start talking about how you're going to change the culture of an organization, and that's worth a pause and some thinking. Can be done. Know people that have done it. They gave away clues. Can be done, but
Think of this as there's only 125 people in it, which
that's
it's really close. So it's a couple million and it's a couple million. And so you could I could personally wrap my arms around 125 people, right? I forget the number, what 140 or whatever the number is, like the guy that says your network, but you can manage that quickly.
yeah. My McKinsey guy certainly was doing that kind of thing and changing an organization. I mean, it's called a turnaround. And he was also, there are also people that have just done the reinvention. Matter of fact, the second book that was on the bestseller list is The Reinventors.
Okay. We'll have to put a pin in this one. Let's looking forward to connecting again. It's been great getting to know you. Guys, read this book. It's 20 years old. I promise you're gonna enjoy it. Anyway, good to see you today, Lawrence.
Thank you for joining us on Lever Up. We trust today's conversation provided meaningful insights into private equity and entrepreneurship. Stay connected by subscribing to our podcast for upcoming episodes.